On today's episode of the Atlantic Link podcast, we're going to discuss marketing for manufacturers. We feel that this may be something that a lot of manufacturers overlook, and given today's digital landscape, it is more prevalent than ever to get your name out there and be recognized within the industry. So my guest today is Josh Curcio, who is the COO and partner from Protocol 80, and they help manufacturers with new marketing initiatives and plans. So if you're looking into generating more sales, which I believe we all are, and kind of unsure how to get there from point A to point B, this podcast could be for you. Josh is going to discuss with us some steps that manufacturers can take, again, to make themselves more visible within their market through the use of marketing efforts. I'm going to go to a short break here, and then we'll jump into Josh's interview. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Atlantic Link podcast, linking manufacturing professionals with industry experts. I'm your host, Kevin Must from Lantec Systems, and today I am joined by Josh Curcio, the CEO, COO, and partner from Protocol 80. So this week, we're going to discuss how manufacturers can use marketing and maybe give some insights how marketing can help drive some sales and revenues toward their shops. So welcome to the Atlantic Link podcast, and thanks again for taking your time today to speak with me, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Well, I look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions for marketing for manufacturers. I know it's something that many manufacturers may not look into 100% and think, I've already got a customer base. I don't really need to grow too much. But obviously in today's digital age, it is very necessary for them to get their brand out there. So before we dive in, if you could kind of give us and our listeners a little bit of a background of yourself from, working in an educational background.
Yeah. So I'm a Pitt grad. It feels like a long time ago that I graduated, but hail to Pitt, I guess. I started in the internet world shortly after college doing SEO, PPC for Fortune 500 companies. It was a large search marketing firm, and coming into that after college was great learning experience and work experience. Fast forward to late 2008, that's when I brought my background here to Protocol 80. So being able to take what I had learned in that large kind of agency firm structure to a small agency here in Bradford, PA. And today, as far as education goes, always learning. If you're not learning in this industry, you're falling behind. I'm also a HubSpot certified trainer. I'm part of the Sales Experts channel, and I have got a bunch of other certifications that most people probably don't know about or care about.
Oh, well, that just goes to show that, as you said, you always got to keep learning, especially in this digital marketing age. There's always something new out there. Well, cool. So you said that you've been with Protocol 80 going on 10 years now. This is your 10th year with them, correct?
Yeah, 10 years.
Wow, very nice. So if you could just kind of give our listeners a little background then for Protocol 80, so they got a little better understanding of what you guys do and how you can help some manufacturers.
Yeah, absolutely. So Protocol 80 actually started in 2002 as a web development company. Zippo Manufacturing, which is a local manufacturing company here in Bradford, you've probably heard of, was the first client of Protocol 80. Yeah, the lighter manufacturer.
Very nice.
Yeah. So, starting with a company like that as your first client is good. It's a good Kickstarter to a business. And then the other benefit was, essentially having our roots in the manufacturing space. So essentially, since that time, we've really focused on helping manufacturers leverage the web for growth. So back then it started as websites and custom web development, integrating with e-commerce platforms and ERP systems, things like that. We added search engine optimization, pay-per-click, AdWords stuff in 2008 when I came on board and brought that service line up here. And manufacturers were able to take advantage of that. They knew that their competitors were using search engines to grow, so they wanted to do the same thing. So today, we still do that, but now we really focus on helping them generate leads online through inbound marketing, and then helping them improve their sales process and sales services through things like CRM onboarding, sales enablement, sales and marketing alignment, things like that. So our agency grew from just web dev to now being someone that really is focused on helping manufacturers grow.
Okay, nice. So you kind of went from like web dev to a little bit of business dev as well.
Yeah.
Very nice. Then you guys, you said Zippo was your first client there. I'm assuming that you are just strictly focused, and from the sounds of it, on manufacturing. Do you have any customers outside of that realm that you just kind of took under your wing for the heck of it?
Yeah, we do have some other clients. We have some clients in the healthcare industry. We've got a sales consultant. We've got some services businesses. Really, the key focus is manufacturing, but anyone that has a considered purchase, usually higher value with a long sales cycle, is a good fit for us.
Okay, very nice to know. Well, cool. Sounds like we've got a pretty good background there of yourself and Protocol 80. So we'll dive in here for today's main topic and how manufacturers can become more competitive within their market through different marketing efforts, whether it be maybe a redesign of their web page, SEO tactics, PPC tactics, anything of that nature. So within your experience, just to kind of hear what you see on a daily basis, what do you feel manufacturers are missing most when it comes to manufacturing or marketing?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that we've kind of historically seen is that they tend to be reactive to competition in the industry and really aren't changing unless they're forced to change. So what I mean by that was, even when we were just doing website development and everyone knew that mobile devices were becoming more and more popular, manufacturers weren't really taking that leap to say, well, we need our website to be optimized for mobile until their competitors were doing it, or until their customers were saying, well, I tried to access your website from my phone, it just wasn't working. So they're very, very reactive and slow to adopt to things like that, because it's a change, and change is certainly hard. And honestly, you're not going to be surprised if you go out there and look at 50 manufacturing websites to still see that 20 to 25% of them still aren't mobile friendly. And we're now 8 years into to kind of that movement. That's one area. It's being so reactive versus getting ahead of the curve and getting ahead of the competition.
Now, with that, do you feel that it's due to kind of an older thought process, or due to the fact that they may just be too busy and that's kind of an oversight of theirs?
Yeah, I would say it comes down to a little of both, and I'm not going to say older. I'll say legacy. Legacy thought process where things have been working for so long. They've been growing, they've been competitive, so they don't necessarily see the need, or maybe they don't see that their customers are actually researching and buying, and that means so investing into something like that is a little bit harder to bite off than investing into machinery. Something that they know they can purchase, and they're going to see what actually comes out of purchasing that new machinery. So I think that's one of the areas, is just not necessarily seeing the need and not really being able to justify it because it has been, things have been working for so long. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, as you know, and you kind of mentioned too, with maybe investing in a new machine as opposed to marketing, as you know, it's tough to analyze your kind of ROI when it comes to marketing efforts and really have a tangible number that you can really pin down. Whereas, with that machinery, they can say, oh, well, I got the machinery for X amount of dollars and I cut X amount of parts, which then generated this much revenue.
Yeah.
A little bit easier to digest those metrics as opposed to the marketing metrics for sure.
Yeah, for sure. One of the nice things about manufacturers that are ahead of the curve is there is a lot of technology out there that'll provide some closed loop reporting, so you can see, these are all the marketing efforts that I'm putting forward. These are the results that they're driving, and then these are the customers that they're producing. So you can then tie them specifically to pipeline, as opposed to just looking at it like a marketing expense.
Yeah. Now, does Protocol 80 do that for your clients, or is that something that you guys offer to them as well?
It is. It is. For as many as we can. Certainly there's some manufacturers out there that are using an ERP that they're really tied to and would be difficult to move from, where everything isn't as tied together as would like it to be, and we don't want to force a change like that. That's a big change if it's not needed. So in most cases, yes, but it's not always a possibility.
Okay, understandable. So then kind of keeping on track with some things that may be missing most. What do you feel, and you had said more mobile-friendly sites and getting their kind of brand out there and brand awareness a little more, what do you feel that manufacturers can improve upon to increase their visibility within the market, aside from, the mobile-friendly websites?
Yeah, I think it's about content. So even when I came into this industry, the phrase as it related to SEO was content is king, right? You needed content for Google to be able to rank you and to get you showing up in search results. And while SEO has changed over that time, the fact that content is still needed hasn't changed. Yeah. So one of the things that people can do, that manufacturers can do, is to create that content and put it out there as a resource for the prospects to find the answers. And when I say content, I mean everything from blog posts to case studies, ebooks, webinars, podcasts, video. All of that stuff is a great way to kind of get in front of prospects as they're researching. But I think one of the important things that needs to be kind of brought to the forefront is that it can't be all self-centered and focused on the manufacturer. What they really have to think of is the prospects. What are they trying to solve? What are they going to search engines for? What are they asking their friends about on social media? And create the content around that, as opposed to, here's the history of our company, here's our capabilities, here's a list of machinery. Now, all of that's good, but it's not necessarily going to get them in front of more people as they're doing research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like you're trying to position yourself as a industry leader or thought leader within the industry, to have people kind of seek out your website to learn more about what's going on, but then also build that trust with you, like, oh, they know what they're talking about. So down the line, I may end up purchasing from them because I've seen them multiple times and interacted with them already.
Yeah, and I think that's something also that's a little bit more difficult to understand. You mentioned it though. Down the line, they're going to remember me and be able to purchase from me at that point. So that's where kind of brand awareness comes into play. It's different than just recognizing the Nike logo or the Apple logo. Brand awareness in the manufacturing space is important as well, because like you said, you're becoming that resource. People are reading these articles over and over and over, and maybe they won't read an article or watch a video and then immediately submit an RFQ. But at that time that somebody does need it, that's when it's going to be really important that they recognize your brand and see that kind of see you as a resource in the relationship that's already been built. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, there's just so much content out there. It's a matter of separating yourself from the others in competition to really build that trust with potential clients of yours.
Yes, for sure.
And I mean, that's like you mentioned, kind of content is king. Um, it's a lot of effort. I mean, it takes a lot of time that may not be realized or understood, but that's definitely a full time job. To be able to create those blog posts, ebooks, newsletters, podcasts, whatever else, videos, and things of that nature. So, um, definitely nothing. I wouldn't think that it's something that you could just kind of do part time unless you're amazing at and just you've got all these thoughts in your head you can put on paper.
Yeah,
But I know myself, it definitely takes time, especially making sure in those posts too you've got your relevant keywording strategies so
I
Google
think
can
that
pick it up.
I completely agree, and I think that that's one of the other struggles is you don't necessarily realize the effort that it takes to do it and do it well, and something like this, dabbling is probably not going to reduce the or produce the results that you're expecting, and then maybe make you look back and say, well, we invested in this and it didn't really work out for us. But not fully investing, whether it's financially or your time resources, and doing it right is going to be the big struggle. Because when we say content is king, you can't just put a bunch of content out there that's already out there,
Yeah.
because now you're just competing with everything that's the same. So you still have to be creating content, but then also thinking how is this going to come across? How is this going to help my prospects? And is it completely different than all the other stuff that's out there?
Yeah, definitely. And so, like, kind of keeping to that, um, and you did mention, don't just kind of go into it with the mindset of I'm going to dabble in it. You kind of want to jump in, full force and really make sure that it's done properly. How would you say the best method is then for building out a strategy and scheduling and making sure that you stay on a schedule to where people kind of keep coming back to you?
Okay. I think that this is probably a multi-part question, but I would say the number one most important thing for someone to do as they're building their strategy is to spend time researching and thinking about the buyers, because that's really what everything has to kind of be centered around. So building out what's called an ideal buyer profile. So like the types of companies that you want to work with. Taking it a step further and saying, all right, who at those companies are we actually dealing with? Is it engineers? Is it people in the purchasing department, procurement? Is it CFOs, controllers? Who is that person at the company that's actually purchasing? And what is it that they care about? Tell a story about them, even if it's not specifically how it relates to the services or products that manufacturers provide, but where are they spending their time online? What tools are they using in their everyday job? What types of things are they trying to accomplish at work? And what does success look like for them? Really tell that story and understand the buyer, but then also understand the process that customers are going through when they actually do become customers. So from the first point where they realize that they have a problem and they go to search and they enter something in, tell that complete story from beginning to end and really understand it. If you spend time there and kind of build your strategy around that, then you can create content that is resonating with those people. You're solving the problems that they're having through the content. And as you mentioned, getting on a schedule and getting on a routine is only going to kind of last if you're starting to see results and you're dedicated to it and knowing that what you're putting out there is actually working. Because I think it's too easy to say, well, I'm going to blog, once a week for 3 months and see how it is. And it's too easy to let that slide and not do it. But if you're creating these pieces of helpful information and people are engaging and responding and asking questions and talking to you about it, that almost kind of lights that fire and gets people excited about what they're producing and what they're creating to kind of help that move forward. So start with the buyer, do have some sort of content schedule, but make sure that You're actually dedicated to following it. You understand that it's a marathon. We're looking at long-term results as opposed to a sprint with quick wins, and invest appropriately. So whether it's time, resources, at someone at your company that can fully invest their time into creating the content and the strategy, or hiring a partner that can help through all of this, help create it and help develop the content, and so on and so forth. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. And kind of to that, then, with building that content and making sure that you stay on schedule or dedicated to it, would you say, would it be best then just to make sure that you're consistent with your releases on, say, blog posting or something of that nature? Would you suggest that they kind of build out maybe multiple posts prior to starting that first blog post, so they've got some stuff to fall back on as far as the library goes?
I think that can be possible. I think it's going to vary for everyone. I think that people are going to have to do what works well for them. And if they can set aside time at maybe the beginning of the month where they produce a few blog posts that are then scheduled out, with social and whatnot going with it, then that works. Maybe it's easier for someone to create a series of videos that then they transpose into text content, but then also put the video out there as well. I think it's going to vary. And I think what needs to drive the velocity of that marketing effort is how quickly someone wants to see results. Because this type of marketing is going to tie directly to the speed that you can put things out there and how quickly it gets ranked and how quickly it gets picked up on social for the results to then be tied back. But if that strategy, as you mentioned, where pumping out a few blog posts at the beginning of the month works, then that's great. Do that. Just find out what works and move forward. But I don't know that there's a magic bullet for anyone.
Yeah, fair enough. Everybody operates differently.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, with all this talk, how does this all tie in, with the marketing efforts to helping drive a manufacturer's sales or revenues?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it kind of comes back to what I mentioned earlier. Before, marketing was seen as just an expense, where you've got this marketing effort that's going on. You maybe didn't really know what was working. You just know that you had to do something. And then you've got your sales team, and your sales team is producing actual revenue that you can see. You can see that deal come from point A to the end of the line where it's generating actual revenue. I think starting to tie those two teams together, and instead of having your sales and marketing team working separately, have them working together as your revenue team, and making sure that there's an agreement between the two of the types of leads that marketing is going after and producing, and then when to actually send them to sales. And then on the sales side, so your marketing team isn't frustrated, have some sort of agreement as to, hey, we're sending you all these leads which are qualified. Please make sure that you're following up with them, because that's one of the other struggles, is you can't have both teams kind of working separately and expect them to try to achieve the same results. Let's all say, this is our goal, and this is what we're all trying to achieve, and making sure that everyone's kind of rowing in the same direction. I think that that's really important, as opposed to looking at these as two separate efforts. Both teams are going to be much happier, and you're going to see results quicker.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. Definitely have to work together, especially, from the marketing side, to hear the salesperson is the one that's out in the field. They're the ones hearing the pains of customers and what they're looking for. So, you definitely want to be married together to where, okay, this is where we may be missing the mark, but can tailor our communications better. And then on that flip side, to make sure that the sales staff is following up on those leads. Otherwise, it could kind of put you into a black hole, or not black hole, but kind of tarnish your reputation or vision as a company if those leads aren't followed up upon in a reasonable time.
Yeah, for sure. The other point there is where marketing's creating all this content that's probably going to be valuable in sales discussions as well. So make them more efficient. Make sure that they know the content that's going out there. So in a sales conversation, as you mentioned, when those questions come up, say, hey, I've got this ebook that'll answer that specifically, or I've got this blog post that'll help you out with that. And they know where it is, and they can immediately just send it over and just provide another instance of helping that customer, that prospect.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, if a customer says, "Oh, I read this somewhere," and the salesperson's never heard of it, that doesn't look may not look too good.
Yes, for sure.
So then, you had mentioned earlier about like online ordering and ERP integration with websites. This, kind of steps away. It's not necessarily fully marketing, but it's becoming more digital for manufacturers and get those orders in. And I think a lot of people don't realize that can be done. What do you see, obviously, other than the ERP integration, what other advantages are there for online ordering?
Yeah, I think taking a step back and saying, what's going to make this experience the best for our customers? Because we all know that selling to a current customer is a lot easier than to selling to someone brand new. So if we can make that experience awesome for them, do it. Look at the technology that's available. And if it's easy to say, all right, we're going to have this ordering system online where someone can come and just say, I need this, or I need it restocked at this time, and kind of give all that information, I think it's valuable and that they should do it. It just we need to be sure that it's tying directly to the right places, so that people know and they're following through. So if you're going to make it easy, make sure that customer service or your fulfillment center is getting notified, or your plant manager, whoever it is, making sure that all of those pieces talk together, so things aren't falling off the radar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that frees up more time for that production manager or whomever to add their efforts elsewhere within the business to kind of grow.
Oh, definitely.
All right. So then, with all that said, is there any one particular success story that you can share with us that, you guys, either yourself or Protocol 80 as a team, just really knocked it out of the park for a manufacturer?
Yeah, I actually have two that I'd like to just touch on really briefly.
Okay. Go ahead.
One, McCone Industries. They're a tubular steel fabricator in Salamanca, New York. They came to us without ever doing any marketing. It's a company that had been in business since, I believe, the 70s, and had never done any marketing. So they came to us and said, well, we know that this type of thing is the direction and it's going to work. And they had faith in us, and we worked together to kind of build a strategy, and just started producing the marketing materials as we've talked about here. Got them set up on a CRM system, a marketing automation system, and they've grown exponentially because of the marketing and sales efforts moving forward. And I think one of the key things that really helped them was to say, what is it that our buyers are researching, and tying every piece of content to that, as opposed to making it about them. So there's just a ton of valuable resources out there, and it's been consistent. And we've seen that the growth has been compounding, and the benefits have been compounding. So it's been great. It's been awesome to see, especially from a company that had never done any marketing whatsoever. Yeah. Again, that was McCone Industries.
Sorry to interrupt real quick, did they see with that marketing maybe go from like a regional pocket to where they were only dealing with regional customers to expanding nationally?
Yeah.
a little more.
Yeah,
Nice.
and they've had the opportunity to, or they've had chances to get opportunities that they would have never gotten without that. So it's been a big change for them, and they're awesome to work with. The other great thing is they're very dedicated to being a U.S. based manufacturer and doing everything from U.S. Provided materials and whatnot.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, nice. And then the second one that you've got for us.
Yeah, the second one, they're a newer partner of ours, and we help them build out a new website. They're called Horizon Technology, and the website is horizontechnology.biz. And what is awesome about this, even though it's newer, very early stages, is they set forth to say, we want our website to speak to how we can help. Like, what is it that we solve for our customers, and really speak to the customers as opposed to speaking to themselves. So we worked with them to get that moving and going, and I think it just came out awesome. Like, being able to look and say, this was what we planned to do, and then read the content. I think it's what people need to do. Like, for example, I had my wife read the website content, and she has nothing to do with the manufacturing industry whatsoever. But she was able to look at that and say, wow, that's awesome. So that's what we want manufacturers to do, is to produce content that people look at and they say, oh, okay, I get it. I see how you're helping me and what you can do for me. And it's clear and apparent. So I loved how it turned out. So I wanted to mention them. And again, that's horizontechnology.biz.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Very, very clean site. As you said, it's more of we're no longer, our web page is used just to highlight or spotlight what product that you have. It's more so used, especially in the B2B sector for the most part, is how we're helping solve your problems as a customer. They know, if say, for instance, we offer CAD/CAM solutions and ERP, MES solutions for sheet metal manufacturers. It's not, if they're searching MES solutions, they're not coming to our page to learn more about MES. They already know about it. They want to learn, okay, how are you going to improve my operations? What are you bringing to the table for us that's going to help us generate a higher ROI by implementing your specific solution?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's and I think that's kind of that misconception as well that I've seen myself is where the web isn't, the web page is no longer just kind of a yellow page for your business to have just contact information. We want to prove to you that, again, going back to the content is king, that we are knowledgeable in the industry. We know what we're talking about, and we're trusted with other partners within our industry as well.
Agree.
Well, awesome. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to touch on here at the end, Josh. That's all I've got for you today. It's been a great discussion so far, but if there's anything else, feel free to add it here at the end.
Yeah, I would say let's buck the trend of being so reactive. It's not too late for manufacturers to be the ones that their competitors are looking at and say, I want to do what they're doing. So just taking that leap and actually doing it. And I'm going to offer myself as a resource. So if you have ideas that you want to bounce off of me, please get in touch. I'm happy to lend my ear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. We'll have your contact information on the description of this podcast. If any listeners want to head out there, we'll have Protocol 80's website as well as your email, so they can reach out if they have any questions moving forward about marketing initiatives. Atlantic Link podcast helps link manufacturing professionals with industry experts, providing news and insights regarding technology, education, and the economy of manufacturing in the U.S. This podcast will answer questions manufacturing professionals may have about Industry 4.0. If you would like to suggest a topic or be a guest on our show, please email Kevin Must at k.must@lantechsms.com.